Our final talk today is by Riley Link, who is a student in mathematics. And Riley will speak today about math, our silent ally, and why it isn't terrifying. It's an uphill battle.
Poor math. Even the name of the discipline is just too abstract. Imagine a world in which the study of living organisms isn't named biology, it's just called science. In this world, you ask a freshman their major, and instead of them saying bio, chem, or physics, they just say science. Well, this is the unfortunate world that mathematicians live in, because when I tell someone that I study and research math, I either have to describe what that actually means, or I just tell them that my research consists of seeing how high of a number I can count to in my head. 1,000,001, 1,000,002, and I forgot. I'll have to start again. The fields of math is a huge conglomerate of many fields. And to start this talk, I want to ask that each of you consider one question. What can math do for me? Now, I want it to be known that I'm not here to convince anyone on switching careers, giving up on dreams, and going and devoting your life to studying math. But I'm here to help you consider what math can do for you. Because in my opinion, math can save your life. Okay, maybe not. Math probably won't save your life in the same way modern medicine will, but it can save your reputation, career, and even your wallet. But in that case, math needs to be approachable. It's a sobering thought that people are not actually afraid of the werewolves in Alicia's talk, but people are afraid of math. I want to help reduce this fear and let everyone see math the way that I do, as a world-changing tool that can provide some fun along the way. So, let me begin with a story that is less about math and more about the importance of interdisciplinary research. Let me set the stage. It was the 2023 Joint Math Meetings, the largest math conference in the world. I was wandering around the undergraduate student poster session with fellow Creighton student Allie. Allie was a neuroscience and math major while at Creighton, and she did research on schizophrenia while here. We strolled up to a poster on a statistical survey between two different drugs' effectiveness at treating schizophrenia, which was right up Allie's alley. After listening to the presenter's spiel, her final conclusion was that there seemed to be no statistical difference between the two drugs' effectiveness, which is a perfectly fine result to get when doing research. Allie then asked the girl if she had ever heard of the pharmacokinetics of the two drugs. The girl politely said no, and Allie walked away and gave a little, Being curious, I was like, what is pharmacokinetics? And unbeknownst to me, pharmacokinetics is the study of how the body interacts with an administered substance. I said, oh, that's cool. And Allie said, I bet they're the same drug. Shocked, we proceeded to pull up very complicated tables of information, and Allie, an undergraduate neuroscience major, pointed out that these two drugs are exactly the same, just branded differently. Think ibuprofen and Advil, acetaminophen and Tylenol, Kleenex and tissue. Now, this moment has stuck with me for quite some time. While I don't believe that this student's research is invalidated or useless, I find it crazy that she overlooked this detail. By consulting an expert, she might have asked different questions that could have pushed her research even further. And in today's modern world where research is incredibly specialized and there's an overwhelming amount of information, I believe we can always consult an expert and take that extra step when we have questions that fall outside of our domain of knowledge. So, to encourage this interdisciplinary research, let me provide a couple of times in history where interdisciplinary mathematics has truly changed the world. Nobel laureate Richard Feynman described calculus as the language God talks. This is because mathematics has had incredible success at modeling the known universe, all in terms of differential equations. Now, not only does saying the words differential equations make you sound extremely smart to all of your friends, but differential equations model almost every natural phenomenon that you can think of. These equations describe the difference between something right now and the same thing an instant later, or between something right here and the same thing infinitesimally close by. So, these equations model things, and one of the most famous and important quotes in all of mathematics is that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And in HIV's case, the model was very useful. In the early 1990s, HIV and AIDS was spreading across the United States and killing hundreds of thousands of humans a year. AIDS was a death sentence. A person diagnosed with AIDS was expected to live less than 18 months. Researchers saw that before AIDS fully developed in a patient, there was an asymptomatic stage in which little or no HIV-related symptoms were shown, and this stage could last up to 10 years. Thus, researchers believe that HIV was dormant during this stage. That was until HIV and AIDS researcher Dr. David Ho and mathematical immunologist Dr. Alan Perelson took a deeper dive. In a 1995 paper, they modeled the lifespan of an HIV virus using differential equations. And they concluded that the replication of HIV is continuous and highly productive, driving the rapid turnover of CD4 lymphocytes. So, your body is in all-out raging war with HIV, as HIV produces around 10.3 billion viral particles every single day, according to their 1996 paper. Thus, before Ho and Perelson, doctors would wait to treat HIV until it emerged from its hibernation. But afterwards, their findings led Ho to conclude that it was time to hit HIV early and hard, as he pioneered the combination antiretroviral therapy that is still used today. The impacts of this research are hard to overstate. Perelson's math was able to help estimate the number of mutations happening in the drug, or in the viral particles, and he was able to prove that by treating with just one or two drugs, the virus would simply win the numbers game and would mutate resistance. However, by treating with a third drug, the virus is undetectable in patients after just 1 month. This turned HIV and AIDS into a treatable disease rather than a death sentence. In 1996, Dr. David Ho received the Time Magazine Man of the Year Award, and in 2017, Dr. Alan Perelson received the Maxwell Brooks Prize in Biological Physics. Combined, Ho and Perelson have over 180,000 citations, and they each continue to research HIV and other infectious diseases to this day, as Perelson has even helped pioneer hepatitis C treatment. Also in the field of medicine is theoretical mathematician Dr. Terry Tao, though not in the way you might expect. Terry Tao is justifiably known as the smartest man on earth. This is because at just 8 years old, he scored a 760 out of 800 on the SAT math section. At 16, he received his bachelor's and master's degree. When he was 21, he received his PhD in mathematics from Princeton University. He won a Fields Medal, the math version of the Nobel Prize when he was just 31 years old, for revolutionizing not just one field, not two fields, but 4 entire fields of mathematics: partial differential equations, combinatorics, harmonic analysis, and number theory. On top of that, Tao defies the TV mathematician norm, as he has collaborated with over 70 different mathematicians throughout his career. However, his findings in compressed sensing might be the most interesting. Compressed sensing is the study of reconstructing a signal from few limited number of sample data points. Tao was able to refine this field, and in particular, he was able to prove that a signal could be reconstructed from a fewer number of sample data points than previously thought. While this might sound like pointless, abstract, mumbo-jumbo math, he was able to prove that you could take an MRI in half the time because he was able to reconstruct the same images from fewer sample data points. So, whether that MRI be for a torn ACL or a tumor, this purely theoretical mathematician was able to decrease the time patients had to lie still in this narrow, noisy tube. Now, I'm sure some of you are sitting in the audience thinking, why should I care? And I don't blame you. It's hard to look at someone who's changed the world and try to incorporate the tools they use, such as mathematics, into your own life. A couple months ago on TikTok, there was a trend circulating of people talking about how they've lived another day without sine, cosine, or the Pythagorean theorem. And to be honest with you, they're right. You could get through your normal life without ever using these tools. But I want to point out that math can, will, and should be in all of your lives. I don't know about anyone else here, but I've known a few undergrads who want to be doctors. Pre-meds have to take a biostatistics class, and while they may not need a p-value to pass the MCAT, once out, they should be able to communicate with biomathematicians. Take the HIV example discussed earlier. If a doctor is prescribing the combination antiretroviral therapy, while they may not need to explain the differential equation model, they should be able to communicate with a biomathematician, ask questions about the effectiveness and reasoning behind the model, and then discuss this with patients. In a world where numbers and statistics mean absolutely everything, doctors should not only be able to concisely explain these treatments, but they should be able to explain other statistics, such as false positives and false negatives of medical tests. Now, some of you have interests nowhere related to STEM fields. I'm talking about all my theology, philosophy, literature, political science, and even business majors out there. Sorry to break it to you, y'all are in the same boat. Take logic. Oh, not this logic. This logic. A philosopher's best friend. A philosopher spends most of their time trying to find innovative arguments and assess the logical structure of them to make sure not a single inference is illogical. This process is shared by lawyers, theologians, I always say that word wrong, theologians, politicians, maybe not all of them, and mathematicians, as almost all math research is proof-based. This is to say that mathematics is bound by the same inherent principles that philosophy is. Additionally, math builds problem-solving skills, reasoning, and attention to detail, as math majors score higher on the LSAT than any other major. So, next time you want to win an argument with your friend or go become a lawyer, consider taking a proof-based math class. Also in the field of the intersection between math and the humanities is the use of AI, which I know is a huge buzzword, but the use of AI in the analysis of old texts. Large machine learning models have the ability to process and decipher gigantic amounts of data, and when coupled with historical documents, they can provide new information almost instantaneously. For example, consider the work of Dr. Xiaoyi Yang, who uses statistics and data science to recover social networks in early history from text data. Historians are able to gain a richer view of English philosopher Francis Bacon by just looking at his social network, as the lines represent connections between Bacon and other notable leaders of his time, all in text data. Now, I understand this is a daunting task. Most people barely want to work in the fields they've chosen, much less try to incorporate math. But I won't point out that I'm not asking you to go in alone. Instead, stay in the fields you love, pursue your dreams, but consider bringing a mathematician along with you. So, to encourage some learning, let me provide 3 online resources that I personally recommend. Not just because they teach you math, but because they make it interesting. First is the household name of Khan Academy. I've got some fans in the crowd. Started in 2008 by Saul Khan, this non-profit organization creates incredibly detailed lectures on everything from kindergarten counting, which I may need some help with considering my research from earlier, all the way to abstract linear algebra. Next is Paul's Online Notes. Another fan. These notes were created by Dr. Paul Dawkins, and they're one of my personal favorites, and my first recommendation to anyone struggling in a calculus course. They provide some of the best explanations I've ever read and a ton of practice problems. Finally is YouTuber 3Blue1Brown, otherwise known as Grant Sanderson. He makes simple animations that explain really tricky topics so that you can understand them from a simpler perspective. He's one of my personal favorites and honestly one of my personal favorite YouTube pastimes, which I know is super nerdy. Now, at the beginning of this talk, I asked all of you to consider one question. What can math do for me? I gave you some examples where interdisciplinary mathematics has truly changed the world. I hopefully conveyed to you why you should care. And then I gave you 3 online resources that should help you learn a little bit more math. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to you. Only 6.7% of the entire world population earns a college degree. We are so lucky that we get to sit here and use our knowledge to help benefit the world. So, all I'm asking is that you keep an open mind and consider what math or a friendly mathematician can do for you. Thank you.